Here's something your average Pokemon fan won't know. The manga had some original characters that have never made an appearance outside of its panels. Of course, you guys already know my favorite character, Yellow, but in the Hoenn arc, we get introduced to a new character to represent the battle frontier, that being the gadget expert Emerald. With his leg stilts and extendo arms, Emerald is our first canonic short king, so shout out to all the short kings out there. I can't relate, I'm 6'1", but shout out anyways. You guys are doing the impossible. Much like in real life, Emerald was teased a lot about his height, and that combined with losing his parents at a young age caused him to develop a complex about his height. To compensate, Emerald would gel up his hair to make him appear taller, as well as use various gadgets he learned from the Trickmaster to make up for his smaller stature, making him the perfect candidate to take on the battle frontier. Now, the battle frontier is locked until the post-game, so today, we're trying to see if Emerald can take on all 8 gym leaders and become the Hoenn champion. Then, we'll take his team into the battle frontier and ultimately take on the secret boss fight Steven, so stay tuned, that's all coming up. First things first though, we need to address his team. It turns out, half of Emerald's team isn't even native to Hoenn. I had to adjust some of the encounters to make sure the run was doable, and I'll explain all those decisions more as we get into our run. To start, we first need to pick up our starter Trico from Professor Birch. In the manga, Emerald didn't start with his Sceptile right away. The two met after Sceptile had already fully evolved, but Professor Birch had originally intended for Trico to be Emerald's starter Pokemon. Unfortunately, the weather events caused by Groudon and Kyogre caused his Pokeball to be swept away, and he eventually ended up in Wally's care. Wally's team was all green, so Trico fit in perfectly. They were separated later, and Trico, who had now evolved into Sceptile, ended up captured and used in the battle frontier as Emerald's rental Pokemon. Upon being sent out, Sceptile immediately went on a rampage, but Emerald was able to calm him with his gadgets, earning his trust as Sceptile joined the team. In our adventures, we finish rescuing Professor Birch so we can keep our Trico and name him Noland. We also continue forward to challenge Sapphire on the next route. She's got her signature Chick, but we can take her out without any issues. All the early game stuff is unchanged, including helping Wally catch Zigzagoon, talking to Scott the Woz, and taking out the Aqua Grunt in Petalburg Woods. We do stock up on Pokeballs though, because here in Petalburg Woods, we can see our first change, that being to Sudowoodo's encounter here. In the base game, there's only one Sudowoodo in front of the battle frontier, at level 40. So yeah, that's not obtainable anyway because the battle frontier is post-game. So I figured, since Sudowoodo is a rock trying to mimic a tree, what better location to put him in than a forest? This way, we can have a thematic home for him, as well as finally show love for Sudowoodo before his stats start to L+ ratio and fall off. I replace a Slackoth encounter here, and we get extremely lucky to catch him on the first ball. I name him Spencer, and I'm curious if you're able to guess the nickname theme. That's all our encounters before Roxanne, so I leveled up the team to the level cap. Spencer's early game moveset is pretty bad, with an inaccurate rock throw, a useless mimic, and a disappointing flail. So as Roxanne sends out Geodude, it's Nolan's time to shine with our newly learned Bullet Seed. Geodude 1 goes down to a Bullet Seed, Geodude 2 meets the same fate, but Nosepass has better bulk. She lives a 2-hit Bullet Seed, but immediately misses her Rock Tomb. Another Bullet Seed gets a 4-hit, which is just enough to take out the ugly rock, winning us our first gym badge. After the battle, Nolan evolves into Grovyle, arguably one of the coolest middle stage starter evolutions. His mark on the Pokemon franchise alongside Dusknoir is widespread, and spoilers ahead, but we may be getting a little reunion coming up, as a Dusclops, not a Dusknoir, but still, the meaning is there. For now though, we have to help out Mr. Briny before making our way over to Dewford Town. That's where we can find the next gym leader, Brawly, but I'll be completely honest, I have no idea how we're gonna beat him. Spencer's got an obvious type weakness, so I'm relying on Nolan to carry us with Bullet Seed. With no plan in place, we're gonna have a hard time breaking through Brawly's team, and you'll soon see why. Brawly leads with Machop, and I send out Nolan. Our first Bullet Seed connects for a 2-hit. Machop then responds with a Bulk Up, and now things are getting a little scary. The next Bullet Seed actually scores a 5-hit, bringing Machop down to the red as he retaliates with a Karate Chop, dealing a little under half to our HP. This was probably the worst outcome as Brawly now heals with a Super Potion as we fire back with another Bullet Seed for another 2-hit. So yeah, I salute you attempt 1, but this is gonna be farewell. On the next turn that we could have taken out Machop, our Bullet Seed stops after 2 hits at 1 HP, allowing Machop to take us out with the final Karate Chop. Spencer comes out to revenge kill Machop, but obviously Makuhita is too strong as he takes us out with a Vital Throw. So what can we learn from this attempt? Relying on multi-hit moves is unreliable and we need to find another solution. Did we learn that lesson? Well, not quite. Apparently, I'd rather be lucky than good, so we decided to start another attempt, but this time we'd pick up the Miracle Seed from Petalburg Woods. That will power up our Bullet Seeds, so we'd have a somewhat more consistent fight. But I'll be honest, we reset 5 more times before we got past Brawly. Why did we mess up so much? Let's start from the beginning. On attempt 2, we got Nolan back, but our nature was minus special attack, which will lower the power of our grass type moves. I decided to continue the run to see what would happen, but in Petalburg Woods, after finding Sudowoodo, we reset the run. Look, Sudowoodo's stats are pretty high at this point in the game, and that's my fault for being only level 8. On attempt 3, we did everything like normal, but this time we started the battle at a higher level. But Sudowoodo did not want to get caught, so after a few rock throws, that's another reset. I guess we got pretty lucky last time. Okay, lesson learned. Sudowoodo's a hard catch. We just got lucky on the first one. Okay. Alright, rip. On attempt 4, we went in at level 12 this time with an Oranberry, but it still goes the same as last time. Another attempt, another failed Sudowoodo. On attempt 5, we actually got Modest as our ability, probably one of the best to get, but guess who did not want to get caught again? On attempt 6, this time we got Rash as our nature, which is plus special attacks, so I'm definitely not complaining. Then, against Sudowoodo, we have a new optimization to use. Instead of using Quick Attack to lower his HP, we just start chucking balls. Since we never used an attack, Sudowoodo's Mimic fails if he tries to use it. So when the random AI chooses Mimic, it will fail and deal 0 damage. In the end, we actually end up catching him in a Premier Ball. I guess Sudowoodo's a material girl, cause it turns out all we needed was a fancy Pokeball. Against Roxanne, obviously it's an easy sweep with Noland, which lets us make our way back to Dewford. It's time to run it back against Brawly, and this time we're bringing our Miracle Seed strats. This strategy is heavily dependent on luck, and we'll soon come to find out that our luck was already low to begin with. He leads Machop, and we send out Noland. Right off the bat, Nolan never fails to disappoint as he lands a 2-hit Bullet Seed, and in return, Machop sets up with the Bulk Up. We desperately need a 3 or a 4 hit, and Nolan once again comes in handy with a second 2-hit. Machop goes for a Seismic Toss, and since it deals set damage, it does exactly 16 HP. Thankfully, Brawly is out of heal range, so we stay in and take him out with another Bullet Seed. Meditite comes out next, but since he can only hit us with Focus Punch, we can easily break that focus with Bullet Seed to take him out. Last up is Makuhita, and immediately Nolan scores a 3-hit with Bullet Seed. Makuhita sets up a Bulk Up, and now things are getting a little scary. At this range, we need a 4 or 5 hit or a crit to take him out on the next turn, or Makuhita could easily take us out. With all the pressure on Noland, he fires off a Bullet Seed for 1 hit, for 2 hits, and that's all we have in the tank. I don't think you even tried, man. What the hell was that? Makuhita now has an opportunity to fire back with a Vital Throw, which, after the +1 from Bulk Up, can easily take out Nolan and Spencer. It was looking pretty dire, and I was starting to wonder if this battle was even doable. We do have some encounters later, and I was considering to move them around to help us out, but I felt like that would be too unfair to move, I don't know, Mr. Mime to Granite Cave. The chat was helping us by throwing out suggestions, and one idea really stuck out to me, that being Flail on Sudowoodo. If we start the battle at 1 HP, Flail would be maxed out at a whopping 200 base power, and Dewford just happens to be the location of the Silk Scarf, which would boost their attack even further since Flail is a normal type move. So the next day, we tried again for attempt 7, but this time we've got a few small changes. Since Sudowoodo was such a tough catch on our previous attempts, I decided to delay that encounter until after we beat Roxanne. Nolan doesn't need any assistance to defeat her, so that lets us evolve into Grovyle for the encounter, giving us much better stats to tank any rock throws. With Spencer now having a consistent answer, we continue to Dewford to prepare for the Sudowoodo sweep. There's only one problem. In order for this strat to work, we gotta outspeed, and our Spencer only has a speed stat of 17. So we start the battle with Spencer and immediately get outsped and taken out by a karate chop. Well, there goes that attempt. We're not done though, we do have a consistent answer. All we have to do is grind a few speed EVs on Wild Zigzagoon and Wingull, and we should be able to outspeed his team. It takes a bit of time, but we quickly catch up on attempt 8 to run it back. And yep, it works. Boom, boom, and a final boom, and that's finally Brawly defeated. Huge shout out to Pariah Dark for recommending this strategy. I appreciate all your support and thank you for saving the run. Now we can finally make progress again as we sail to Slateport to deliver the Devon parts. Team Aqua is easily dealt with since we have Nolan to take care of their Carvanas, but there is one upcoming fight that I'm dreading. On Route 110, there's a rival battle against Sapphire. I haven't mentioned her yet because her battle in Rustboro is skippable, but this one's mandatory. She's got a Wingull and Lombre, which are manageable, but her starter chick will be a huge roadblock. She's got Ember for Nolan and Double Kick for Spencer, as well as Focus Energy to increase her crit chance, so this one will be a tough one to break through. She starts with Wingull as we lead with Spencer, but we unfortunately miss our Rock Throw on turn 1. Rock Throw has an accuracy of 90%, and honestly, it's pretty ridiculous how awful the accuracy of rock moves are. This lets Wingull fire off a Water Gun, which takes out a chunk of our health. We do connect with Rock Throw on the next turn, which does get a one-shot. Next up is Lombre, but Nolan can easily deal with her using Fury Cutter. Finally, out comes our worst nightmare, Chick the Combuskin, so we switch into Sudowoodo on a weak Peck. We've got a chance to deal some damage with Rock Throw as Combuskin sets up a Focus Energy, but Spencer misses a second attack. And on the next turn, Combuskin crits a Double Kick to take us out. If you guys are counting, that's 8 failed attempts now. I know this isn't technically an official run since we're modifying the encounters to use his team, but man, it sucks to lose that many times. Throughout the stream, we were discussing our encounters and the chat convinced me to make some changes. These changes will make our run easier and they honestly make so much sense that I'm surprised I didn't think of them sooner. Let's start with Mr. Mime. I originally placed this encounter on Route 113 since that's where you can make those glass flutes. Mr. Mime's whole gimmick, besides being a creepy clown, is making glass barriers, so I felt like this would be a fitting place to put him. Now, there's a location in Hoenn that would fit Mr. Mime much better, that even fits in with Emerald's backstory. Can you guess it? Well, Nikam and Doge had a great suggestion to place him at the Trick House, since that'd be the perfect place for him to set up his barriers. That'll make Sapphire's Combuskin much more manageable, and it makes sense thematically too. The other encounter we moved was Emerald Snorlax. I originally placed him on Route 120 since there's another Pokemon here that blocks our path, that being the invisible Kecleon. Since Snorlax also blocks our path in Kanto, I felt like it would be fitting, but we decided a better place would be the Safari Zone, since the Hoenn Safari Zone has exclusively Kanto and Johto Pokemon, so it's almost like Snorlax got imported here. With these two changes, we booted up another attempt to try out this new map. I know we're technically testing the map at this stage, but I'll still call these attempts since we're trying to beat the game. Since it's a new map though, I'm calling this attempt 1 again, but with an asterisk. Nothing changed for the early game, so we grabbed Nolan, defeated Roxanne, caught Spencer, and grinded speed EVs before sailing to Dewford. Here, we did the same strats with Flail, and just like before, we got ourselves a nice and simple badge number 2. Onward to Slateport, and this time, we swing by the Trick House for our next encounter, Mr. Mime. I've never seen this interaction before, but apparently, if you catch a Pokemon behind a substitute, the substitute gets caught. Now, as much as it pains me to use Mr. Mime again, I'm willing to give it another shot, especially after Mimey on Crystal's team basically soloed the entire game before sacrificing himself in the last fight. With Tucker added to the team, we charge straight into battle for a rematch against our last run ender. Sapphire sends out Wingull, and I lead with Nolan because we can't rely on Spencer's inaccurate moves anymore. But with the 5 level advantage, we can take Wingull out with a few Bullet Seeds, which baits out Combuskin. Even though he sets up a Focus Energy, we can outspeed and one-shot him with a Confusion. As usual, I've underestimated Mr. Mime's attacking potential because even though we're stuck with the weak Confusion, Tucker's special attacking potential is not bad at all. Sapphire's follow-up Lombre goes down to 2 more, which wins us the battle and lets us make progress once again. We make our way over to Mauville, and before we can take on Watson, we wipe the floor with Wally's Ralts. In another timeline, he'd be raising Nolan on his team, but here, the poor guy's stuck with his weak Ralts. Against Watson, we don't have a complete plan, but we do have a new toy. In the Mauville game corner, we can pick up the TM for Psychic, which will replace Tucker's weak Confusion and allow him to hit Watson for big damage. So after a bit of unhealthy gambling... Must be this one now, right? Must be this purple. Dang. One more. Let's just do all the Azurals. Nothing. Keep playing. Surely on this one, right? It's gotta be this one. We've played so many. We've got 2 more. Ooh, so close. We are so close. It's gotta be this one, right? It's gotta be. Just based on, like, probability. Not bad at all. We made $2. We're able to buy the TM as we get ready to take on Watson. Watson leads with Voltorb, and we send out Tucker. Voltorb can go for self-destruct, so I originally wanted to bring Substitute to play around that, but we can also just outspeed and one-shot him with a Psychic. His follow-up Electrike goes down too, but his Magneton poses a problem. We can manipulate his AI a bit by setting up Substitute on a Thunder Wave, then encoring him into Thunder Wave, but unfortunately, he resists our Psychic, so it takes 3 hits to take him out. With Watson healing over and over again, our PP is starting to get a little low, and after we take out Magneton, we have 1 attack for Psychic left. Looking back, I should have gone into this battle with a Lepa Berry, because as Manectric comes out, we'll have to switch out ourselves because there's no way Psychic can one-shot. Except right now, when we get a critical hit for the one-shot, taking out Manectric and letting us walk away scot-free. Time to make our way through the routes as we maneuver through Fiery Path, and Spencer also learns a very useful Rock Slide. There's not too much to talk about, but we do make our way through Meteor Falls with no issues. Alright, ooh, Team Aqua's here. Wait, they just leave? I thought the fight was here. Wait a minute, let me check my docs. What the heck? At Mount Chimney, Tabitha at Mount Chimney. I thought just because of the level cap, Tabitha has a level 22 Zubat. No. I'm gonna stop you right there. We were speeding up so much through the grunt battles that I didn't even realize that the Tabitha battle was right here. The Nuzlocke tracker that I use has a huge mistake because they show the Tabitha fight instead of the true boss of Mount Chimney, which is Maxie, who has a Camerupt. And to say I wasn't prepared for Maxie is an understatement because he leads with Mightyena as we send out Spencer against who I thought was a Numel. Mightyena drops our attack with Intimidate and our accuracy with a Sand Attack, although we still deal a decent amount with Low Kick. On the next turn, Mightyena tries to flinch us with Bite, but we dodge the flinch along with our low accuracy and connect with a Rock Slide. It does less than I was expecting, so I switch into Nolan on the heal. We're not able to get the Fury Cutter train going as Mightyena spams Bite, and I completely messed up by going for a Quick Attack for the kill, which was definitely not enough for the KO. Because of this mistake, I'm forced to switch into Spencer to take him out. But this baits out Camerupt, and based on our HP, I'm not confident we can live a high roll Magnitude. Also, Magnitude hits us for double damage if we're underground, so we're backed into a corner here. I switch into Tucker, thinking maybe we can encore him into a Focus Energy, but Camerupt connects with a Magnitude, even landing a 9, taking out Tucker and ending our run. By the way, we would have survived any Magnitude 8 or lower, but unfortunately, this was just not our run. The bad docks, combined with our bad luck, was the perfect recipe for disaster. And for the record, my switch into Tucker wasn't all that bad because I sent out Spencer to see how much Rock Slide would do, and the camera upped one for Focus Energy. If that had happened when we switched into Tucker, we could encore him into Focus Energy as we set up a substitute and take him out with Psychic. Oh, and also his next magnitude rolls a 5, which we easily tank. So, no, I'm definitely not feeling salty or anything. But on the bright side, we now have a consistent way to get back to where we were. Yeah, we're on attempt 2 with an asterisk, but against Roxanne, we have Noland and his bullet seeds. Against Brawly, we have Spencer with her speed EVs and max power flails. Against the Sapphire fight, we have Tucker and her respectable confusion. And against Watson, we forgot the Lepa Berry, so we needed to improvise by first encoring Manectric into a Thunder Wave before taking him out with Noland. All that progress, by the way, was done in an hour, so that really shows how much we've mastered the early game. Now it's time for our actual challenge though, as we're back on Mount Chimney to try again against Maxie. This time, we actually have the right information going into the battle, so we're fully prepared for his camera up. When I was doing the damage calculations after that last attempt, I realized that I was totally underestimating Spencer's physical defense. So, as Maxie leads with Mightyena, I send out Noland since his Intimidate won't affect our grass moves. Grass moves were all special attacks before the physical special split in Gen 4, so a few Miracle Seed boosted Bullet Seeds are enough to do the job. We take a few bites in return, but even after Maxie heals, we're able to outdamage Mightyena to take him out. We are brought down to red HP, so when Camerupt comes out, I switch into Spencer on the baited Ember. Then, by abusing the Ugly Cow's heavy weight against itself, we can hit a max-powered low kick for an easy 2-shot. Camerupt sets up a Focus Energy, which further solidifies that my switch into Tucker earlier was not a bad call. Another low kick deals with Camerupt, and a Rock Slide takes care of Zubat, letting us clear through this previous roadblock so we can make progress again. Right off the bat, we charge through Jagged Pass and gear up to challenge Flannery, who leads with Numel as we send out Spencer. With our powerful Rock Slides, we can one-shot her along with her follow-up Slugma. When Camerupt comes out, we already know how to deal with her, but a low kick is still a 2-shot, which lets her set up a Sunny Day. Even though that'll boost Torkoal's overheats, we resist them, and also Torkoal decides to go for a Body Slam instead. She gets the immediate para, and then on the next turn, Torkoal crits a Body Slam as we get fully paralyzed. It's all fine though, I never suspected this fight to be difficult as we can dodge the para hacks and take her out with another Rock Slide, winning us our 4th gym badge. There is one fight that I'm dreading though, and that's Norman in Petalburg City. Yeah, we've got the super effective coverage with low kick, but Norman's got 4 Pokemon. If this is a 4v1, we're not exactly gonna have an easy time. So as Norman leads with Spinda, I send out Tucker to try and get off a substitute on a Teeter Dance. That doesn't work as Spinda opts to use Facade, so we switch to Psychic. It's not enough for the one-shot, and now Spinda decides to use Teeter Dance. Our backup Persimberry saves us, allowing us to land another Psychic to take out our first obstacle. Norman's next Pokemon is Vigoroth, but after we fail to get a substitute up, I switch into Spencer to resist the Facade. Vigoroth switches to Feint Attack, but we can easily tank it and fire back with a low kick. Another round of trading blows, and we're able to take him out with a second low kick. It's finally time for the monster Slacking to make his debut, but we've come prepared. Instead of firing off with a powerful low kick, I waste the turn by going for Mimic. This copies nothing, but also causes Slacking to fail his counter. Then, on the turn Slacking loafs, we can safely fire off a low kick, which is looking like a 3-shot. Then, we can rinse and repeat these steps, using Mimic as Slacking tries to counter and firing off another low kick. A Citrus Berry puts him out of heal range, and on the next turn, Slacking actually goes for Yawn instead of counter. This causes us to accidentally mimic Yawn, but the real difficult part is that we're about to fall asleep on the next turn. I decide to stay in and use another low kick, which just barely misses out on the kill. Slacking loafs, but after this turn, Spencer finally falls asleep. I figured we'd be okay to stay in, and Norman starts using our sleep turns to heal with the Hyper Potion. But using our newly learned Yawn, we start putting Slacking to sleep. And while he's sleeping, I switch into Tucker to set up a substitute as we fire off psychics to chip away at his gargantuan health. Unfortunately, Slacking wakes up, and a facade does way too much damage, but we can still set up a sub as Slacking loafs to get in a few more psychics. We are operating on dangerous grounds here as Tucker is only at 1 HP, so I switch back into Spencer as Norman heals again. It's a few more turns of yawning back and forth, but eventually we get the upper hand and take him out with a low kick. Against his final Lanoon, we stay in as Lanoon decides to set up a belly drum, which gives us the perfect opportunity to take him out with a low kick. I'll be honest, I was so close to switching to Nolan just to play things safe, but good thing I took the risk and stayed in because that could have gotten out of hand. With Norman defeated, that unlocks Surf, so the rest of Hoenn is open for us to explore. That's the perfect time for our next change to come into play, because to the right of Mauville, we can fish for another encounter here, a Mantine named Lucy. Unfortunately, Mantine doesn't exist in Hoenn, so I had to make these changes for our team to be usable, but Mantine will still be a great supportive member for our team. The last time I used Mantine was T-Bow in Gold's team, so it'll be fun to use him in another region. That's all our encounters for now, but we have some story to clear through. By making our way through the routes, we can arrive at the Weather Institute to clear out Team Aqua. They've got Water and Dark types, so Nolan can deal with Carvana and Spencer can deal with Mightyena. Outside of the Weather Institute, Sapphire comes back to challenge us, but we've matured a lot since our last battle. Tucker takes care of Pelipper and Combuskin, and Nolan comes out to take care of Lombre. That's probably the last rival battle I'll mention because after getting more encounters, her team is much more manageable. Oh, also, Scott the Woz talks to us after the battle. It's always cool to see Scott the Woz. Hey! Now, against Winona, we've got a few tools at our disposal that'll make this a fun battle. She leads with Swablu, so I start the battle with Tucker. We set up a substitute, and since Swablu's damage output is so bad, we can tank it without breaking the sub. A few turns later, and shockwaves are enough to take her out while keeping our sub intact. Winona sends out Tropius next, so we first get some damage off with Psychic, but Tropius breaks her sub with Aerial Ace. On the next turn, she opts to heal with Synthesis, so we can set up another one. With the Citrus Berry keeping us healthy, we can keep chipping away at Tropius until she finally succumbs to our attacks. This brings out Pelipper, so as Winona goes for her court-mandated Protect, we can safely set up a substitute, then Encore her into wasting Protect as we finally take the bird out with the Shockwave. Man, Encore strats are quickly becoming my favorite strat. Skarmory is up next, but another Shockwave is enough for the 2-shot. Aerial Ace breaks through our sub, so instead of using another Shockwave, I switch into Spencer to tank the next one. It's possible we got a higher damage roll, so at our current health, I'm not risking that. I'm expecting a Steel Wing, and also Skarmory's physical defense is super high, so I switch into Lucy to tank it before taking Skarmory out with a Surf. Against her final Altaria, we stay in and fire off a 4-time super effective Ice Beam, but Altaria somehow tanks it. She only sets up a Dragon Dance, and at our current health, I'm sure I can tank an Aerial Ace. Altaria gets some aura in recovery, but on the next turn, she decides to go for another Dragon Dance, completely throwing the battle and letting us freely connect with the second Ice Beam for the KO. And just like that, that's 6 badges down with only a few more challenges in our way. Time to make our way over to the next city, and oh my god, this place is beautiful. The reflection of the clouds on all the lakes and puddles is breathtaking. Before we arrive at Lily Cove, I first stopped at the Safari Zone to hunt for our next encounter, who's gonna be Brendan the Snorlax. The last time I used Snorlax was in my very first video, so I'm excited to try him out in Hoenn. By the way, are you guys seeing the connection in Emerald's team yet? Besides Nolan, the rest of the team has something in common. I'll be watching the comment, so whoever guesses it correctly first, I'll pin your comment. Another quick stop before Lily Cove, and that's Mount Pyre for our last encounter. Here, we can find a Duskull, whom we catch and name Greta. Then, it's guns blazing as we clear through the rest of Mount Pyre, and then the Magma Hideout where we need to battle Maxie. But now that we've got Lucy on her team, that fight is no problem. Lucy takes care of Mightyena and Camerupt pretty easily, and Brendan takes care of his Crobat. Oh yeah, and Groudon gets loose, so we need to head over to the Aqua Hideout. Matt tries to stand in our way, but Spencer takes care of both his Mightyena and Golbat. That battle was an embarrassment, man. You're trying to stop me and you bring these two crappy Pokemon? I hope you get demoted for that, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. That's all the story for now, so we've got to continue our gym challenge. We make our way over to Moss Deep City, and for all the double battle trainers there, I led with Nolan and our new team member Greta for the Mystery Dungeon appreciation. Nolan tries to evolve a few times, but no. You're staying a Grovyle until I can get good footage of the two of you battling together. Against Tate and Liza, yeah, you bet I let Nolan evolve. They lead with Xatu and Claydol, so I send out Lucy and Nolan. We start outspeeding, firing off a super effective Leaf Blade into Claydol and a powerful Surf to hit both opponents. Xatu's gonna be chilling there for now, as Nolan and Lucy continue to target into the right side, outspeeding and taking out Solrock and Lunatone before they can contribute much. Now it's a 2v1, and even though Xatu set up 2 Calm Minds, we can switch to physical attacks to take him out, which wins us a nice and easy 7th gym badge. With our new badge, we now have Dive unlocked, which grants us access to Seafloor Cavern. There's a few puzzles here, but we can easily make our way through where we find Archie waking up Kyogre. But at this point, our team's fully maxed out, so his team's no problem at all. Nolan takes care of Mightyena with a few Leaf Blades, which baits out his Crobat. I switch into Spencer, and after a little back and forth, we take him out with a Rock Slide. Finally, against Archie's Sharpedo, we switch into Brandon to take him out with a Body Slam, winning us the battle. Archie still manages to awaken Kyogre though. I mean, come on, why would you think the red orb would wake up the blue legendary? Well, I'm sure you guys know how this stuff goes by now. The two are duking it out at Sootopolis, so we head into the Cave of Origin, then surf over to Sky Pillar to tattle to Rayquaza. Then, the best cutscene ever plays as Mama Rayquaza comes down from the heavens to smack some sense into her 2 kids. Finally, with all the story done, Juan opens up his gym for us to challenge him. He leads with Love Disc, but we've got Tucker as our lead. If you look closely at our moves, it might look awfully close to another moveset we've run before. Yeah, Substitute plus Calm Mind is ridiculously broken. Love Disc struggles to break her sub as we set up to +6, and then it's sweeping time. Love Disc goes down to a Shockwave, Crawdon as well to another Shockwave, Whiscash goes down to a Psychic because he'd be immune, his Celio goes down to a Shockwave, and his final Kingdra actually survives a Shockwave and sets up a double team, but since Shockwave bypasses accuracy, he goes down to another one, winning us a very simple badge number 8. Okay, one last hurdle in our way before the Elite Four, and that's Wally at the start of Victory Road. This time, we were expecting him because I always mix this up with Oras, where he appears at the end of the cave. I'll be honest though, it's not much of a challenge, especially with Brandon's sheer bulk. We make our way through the cave and arrive at the Pokémon League. It's finally time to get ready to challenge the Elite Four. We've got to complete the Gauntlet Deathless since we don't get any other encounters for the secret boss fight against Steven. Also, we've got to keep these guys alive for the Battle Frontier later, so we can't be playing into any sacks for this run. With the team all leveled up, it's time to step in to take on the first challenge. Sydney starts the battle with Mightyena, and we're leading with Lucy. His Intimidate doesn't affect our special attacks as we fire off a powerful Surf, nearly getting a clean one-shot. Mightyena lowers our accuracy with Sand Attack, so I switch into Spencer on the turn Sydney heals. Then, with the Brick Break TM to replace Low Kick, we can chop our way through Mightyena while tanking some soft crunches in return. Gotta love dark moves all being special attacks in this gen. Sydney's next Pokemon is Cacturne, so we immediately switch into Nolan on a resisted Needle Arm. We fire off a Dragon Claw, which again, because of the physical special split, is a special attack in this gen, and we deal a decent amount of damage. Cacturne lowers our speed, but on the next turn, we still outspeed to take him out with another Dragon Claw. Third up is Absol, so we tag out into Brandon to put his high HP stat to use. Absol actually goes for a Swords Dance on the switch, and at this moment, I was a little terrified, but on the next turn, he only goes for Rock Slide, which we can comfortably tank as we fire back with Return for the almost one-shot. Their held Citrus Berry puts them out of heal range, so another Return does the job, taking Absol out. Sydney sends out Shiftry, but we came prepared too. We've got the powerful Ice Beam, but Shiftry instead sets up a double team, and Brandon subsequently misses his next attack. This could start getting out of hand, especially as Shiftry continues setting up and Brandon continues missing. Our held leftovers is helping out a bit, but this is really getting ridiculous. Shiftry even manages to land a swagger, but on that turn, Brandon somehow breaks through the confusion and the evasion, landing an Ice Beam and bringing him down to the yellow. Sydney's gonna heal here, so I switch into Tucker and set up a substitute again. Shiftry's moveset is Double Team, Swagger, Torment, and Extrasensory, so he can't really touch Tucker. Somehow, his Torment bypasses our sub, so now we can't use the same move twice. It's a little annoying since we have to swap between Calm Mind and Shockwave, but it's not that bad since Shockwave ignores evasion. It's a true test of patience, but eventually we can break through and take out the annoying tree. And against Crawdon, we can take him out with a Shockwave, winning us a very tedious first Elite Four battle. Next up is Phoebe, a Ghost type specialist, so this is Brandon's time to shine. She leads with Dusclops, so we send out Brandon to start firing off Shadow Balls. Ghost is physical in this generation, so we can actually take advantage of our high attack stat to fire off strong attacks. Dusclops goes down, her follow-up Banette goes down to 2 Shadow Balls, and Sableye follows suit, although she does try and set up Double Team, but Brandon still hits through. We crit her next Banette, which of course is a one-shot, and out comes Dusclops. Dusclops can be pretty bulky, so I switch into Lucy to get off a Toxic, guaranteeing our victory. Now it's just a matter of stalling as we switch into Spencer on a resisted Rock Slide before taking her out with a Rock Slide of our own. And with that, that's the second Elite Four member taken care of. Third up is Glacia, our Ice type specialist. She leads with Celio, so I send out Tucker. It's substitute plus Calm Mind time, baby, as Celio only goes for a Hail. The Hail chip sucks, but Celio can't break through our sub with the Body Slam. The 25% to set up the substitute, combined with the Hail chip, is a little rough, but our health Citrus Berry lets us set up a little more. So after 3 Calm Minds, it's sweeping time. A single Shockwave takes care of Celio. A +3 Psychic decimates Glalie number 1 and Glalie number 2. And it takes a few hits, but Walrein gets fried as well, winning us our third Elite Four battle. Our final challenge is against Drake, the knockoff Dragon Master. By the way, are there any Drake fans out there? He's totally overshadowed by Lance and Claire, although I can think of one person who likes him.
Cause my top 5 is Drake, 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 Drake!
He leads with Shelgon, but we've got Lucy, who packs a powerful punch with Ice Beam. Shelgon protects on turn 1, but on the next turn, he barely survives on 1 HP. Drake then heals, and a second Ice Beam gets a high roll, taking him out. Next up is Salamence, but since he has Rock Slide, I switch into Spencer to resist it. Then we can tank a Dragon Claw before firing back with our own Rock Slide. Our damage output isn't good enough, but on the next turn, Drake actually switches out to Flygon. Of course, we can't stay in on an Earthquake, so I switch into Lucy for the flying immunity. We easily tank a Dragon Breath before firing back with a 4x super effective Ice Beam, taking him out. But once Salamence comes back, we've got to switch out into Brendan to eat the Rock Slide. Good thing we've got our Ice Beam coverage because we eat another attack before taking out Salamence. Altaria comes out next, and he tries to go for Double Edge, but once again, Ice Beam being quad effective is another one-shot. Kingdra is last, but he gets greedy and tries to set up 2 Dragon Dances, which lets us safely secure the KO for the victory. By the way, look at Kingdra's face when he uses Dragon Dance. You guys ever messed around with the photo booth filters on Apple computers? It kind of reminds me of that. Man, me and my siblings would mess around with that for hours to take the funniest photos. Good times, man, good times. Alright, it's finally time to take on Champion Wallace. The true champion is often Meteor Falls, but we're gonna get to him eventually. For now though, Wallace leads with Wailord as we send out Noland. Since Wailord's water spouts can be pretty scary, we start the battle with a powerful Leaf Blade, nearly taking out the giant whale. Wailord only goes for Rain Dance, so on the next turn, I know Wallace is gonna heal, so we stay in and continue using Leaf Blade. I guess Wallace gave up on his Pokemon because instead of healing back to full, he just lets him go down. Milotic is up next, and playing around an Ice Beam, I switch into Brandon. We've got the Thick Fat ability, so damage from ice moves are halved. We do need to tank a Surf, but we've got amazing bulk and can take it with no problem. A little back and forth later, and Milotic finally goes down. Wallace sends out Tentacruel, but I decide to stay in and continue attacking. We've got amazing special defense, so we can tank a Hydro Pump and fire back with another powerful return. Then, on the next turn, we can heal back all our HP with Rest as we very comfortably take Hydro Pump after Hydro Pump. A few turns later, and we wake up, letting us finally take out Tentacruel. Ludicolo comes out next, but unfortunately for Wallace, Dark Brandon's already been unleashed. Our amazing special defense lets us tank anything Ludicolo throws at us, and our returns do way too much damage. Ludicolo goes down to 2 hits, and Wallace sends out Whiscash. I switch into Greta to give her some time to shine, and we can fire off a Will-O-Wisp to permanently cut Whiscash's attack in half. Then, it's a safe switch to Nolan as we take him out with a Leaf Blade. Last up is Wallace's Gyarados, and even though we get our attack drop from Intimidate, we stay in and use Leaf Blade. Gyarados tries to set up Dragon Dance, but we land a critical hit, taking out the Leviathan and winning us the champion battle. Gotta love the boosted crit chance, am I right? Now, while it may seem like the run is over, Emerald was known as the Battle Frontier, guys, so I wouldn't be doing this video justice if we didn't check it out. Right off the bat, Scott the Woz actually greets us as we walk in, so I knew this guy was onto something throughout our adventure. We've got the entire frontier unlocked, but I decided to start at the Battle Factory. This one's actually run by Nolan, but it's a long road to fight him. I might be open to taking on all the battle facilities on stream sometime, but for the purpose of this video, I'll just be dipping my toes in the water. This facility operates with rental Pokemon, so we've got some options to choose from for our fight. The options are straight up trash, but we can make a decent team with these guys. Our opponent sends out Kadabra, and we got pretty lucky to start with Sableye. Of course, we completely counter him as we take him out with a Feint Attack, and against Quilava, our Keen Eye prevents his smokescreen from working. Oh, also, before X and Y, Knockoff only had 20 base power. The damage is pitiful, but I guess it was more of a utility move back then. Quilava's Flame Wheel actually does decent damage, so I switch into Magcargo. Did the AI cheat right there? Because there's no way he went for a Swift against Sableye, right? Either way, a Rock Slide plus the Sandstorm chip takes out Quilava, and against the final Furret, a few Embers is enough to finish the job, letting us beat the Battle Factory. Our next facility is the Battle Arena, which is run by Greta. Like with our first one, we won't actually be challenging her, but we'll still be giving it a fair shot. Actually, this one's a little different. Okay, one gripe I have with the Battle Frontier is that you need level 50 Pokemon to compete in the level 50 category. They can't just cap your levels at 50 like a Wi-Fi battle. So since our levels from the Elite Four are above 55, I'm stuck facing level 60 opponents. Oh, also, this battle's a little different. So our Pokemon are facing each other for 3 turns. If I knock out Nosepass, then obviously I win that round. But if we're both left standing after 3 turns, then we get judged based on our offensive style, our accuracy, and our remaining HP. So for example, we couldn't take out Nosepass, but Nosepass couldn't take us out either. After 3 turns, the ref calls the battle and ranks both our Pokemon. We're deemed the winner, so Nosepass gets knocked out, and our opponent sends out Houndour next. We can actually take him out with the return, so we win that round. And against the final Geodude, we actually get paralyzed too much and can't take her out, so we've got to be judged again. We somehow win for the Mind category even though we didn't attack, but Geodude wins on accuracy. Obviously, the Body category goes to us because, come on, we're a Snorlax. So we win this round too, letting us clear the Battle Arena. Next up is the Battle Dome, which is run by Tucker. I'm guessing you guys are starting to see where our nicknames come from, huh? This one's a little different too, since we get to bring 3 Pokemon with us. This one's in a tournament bracket style, and you get to find out a little information about your opponent's team before choosing 2 of your Pokemon to use in battle. Our opponent leads with Loudred, and we start with Noland. A few Leaf Blades take care of him, and against his follow-up Aipom, I send out Tucker to take him out with a Shockwave. That may have seemed quick, but it's a tournament. We've still got a few more opponents left. Our next opponent has a Corsola, whom we easily take out with Noland, and a Lombre, but a few Leaf Blades can easily do the trick. Okay, I know we're underleveled, but it's nice that everyone's only got first or middle stage Pokemon. It's gonna be a pretty similar story from here on out. Our next opponent has a Magneton and a Minun, but Noland only needs a few Leaf Blades to take them out. This bracket's getting tighter as we get ready to take on Triathlete Carlo. Tucker has some flashbacks to the rival battle as we take out Combusken with a Psychic, and a few Shockwaves can deal with Pidgeot, winning us the battle. And that was apparently the last one. A nice and simple ending to a fun bracket, and that's the Battle Dome taken care of. The fourth one is, probably my least favorite. It's the Battle Pike, which is run by the Pike Queen Lucy. Design-wise, this building is sick, but content-wise, I wasn't a fan. We had to run through these rooms where we get 3 options to choose from. I just ran down the middle one each time, and I ended up in a room with a bunch of pillars. There's wild Dusclops here, but is this really meant to be a maze? It's amazingly stupid if you ask me, but I don't know. I really failed to see the point here. Our next room has a trainer, but she's only got first stage Pokemon, and Spencer can easily take them out. A little more running later, and we're faced with a somewhat tough trainer. That's not my words, by the way, that's what she called him. He leads with a Cloyster, but Noland can take care of her along with his follow-up Politoed and Sharpedo. Somewhat easy trainer, more like it, but we continue forward, going through another one of those pillar mazes, taking on another trainer battle with first stage Pokemon, and I guess that's it. I really did not get that one at all. I feel like I kind of get the idea. It's like a pick your poison type challenge, but it felt like a worse version of a roguelike game. I'm probably not going back in there, not even to meet Lucy, man. That's the Battle Pike taken care of. Good riddance. Okay, the fifth one is probably my favorite. I've seen people talk about this one before, and for good reason. This one's the Battle Palace, and it's run by a wise old man named Spencer. The way it works is you choose 3 Pokemon, but you cannot choose which moves they use. Their nature dictates how they randomly pull moves, either an attacking move like Tackle, a defensive move like Harden, or a supporting move like String Shot. So, for example, if we're Adamant Nature, we've got a 38% chance to use an attacking move and 31% to use a defensive or supporting move. Some natures are much more skewed, like Sassy having an 88% chance to attack, or Gentle having a 70% chance to defend. And then once you fall below 50% health, you get all new percentages. It is super in-depth and sounds really fun, so I can't wait to try it out. Oh, also, more bonus points, the stage we battle on is sick too, with the river of water separating the trainers. The battle starts off as our opponent leads with Skiploom, and we start with Spencer. Skiploom goes for Mega Drain, and Spencer luckily pulls Rock Slide, which secures the one-shot. Lombre comes out next, so I switch into Noland. Lombre was incapable of using its power, which happens if it wants to use a move category, but the Pokemon isn't carrying any moves of that category. Noland's actually pretty lucky with the RNG, pulling Leaf Blade and then Giga Drain. Lombre goes down, and the last Pokemon is Coughing. I switch into Brendan, who pulls a Return and an Ice Beam, taking him out and winning us the battle. That was super fun, and honestly, if I was gonna dedicate more time to any of these, it'd be that one. That's the Battle Palace completed, with 2 more to go. The 6th battle facility is the Battle Pyramid, which is run by the Pyramid King Brandon. Man, these titles are so cool, I wonder what I would be. Emerald would totally be the Gadget Expert Emerald. I'd probably be the Manga Enjoyer Magnus. Anyway, the Battle Pyramid is also not my favorite, since it feels like it's trying so hard to be a roguelike. You can bring 3 Pokemon, and your Pokemon can't bring any items. The purpose of this is to jump into the dungeon and wander around, picking up items and battling trainers. Defeating a trainer lets you see more of the area around you, so you can try and find the blue exit to the next floor. Defeating each trainer actually gives you a little hint for where the blue tile is, so I usually just battled one person to get a general direction and stumbled over to the exit. After clearing each floor, we arrive at the Pyramid Summit, where we are crowned the new conqueror and finally allowed to leave. That was a huge time sink, but under the right circumstances, I could see it being fun. The Pyramid King Brandon actually has the Reggie Trio and the legendary birds when you challenge him, so that's definitely pretty cool. It's just a slog to get through, so I'm good for now. That's another facility taken care of with only one left. The final battle facility is the most straightforward. It's the Battle Tower, which is run by Annabelle, whom you might remember from Sun and Moon, but she actually originated in Hoenn. It's just a standard battle, so I went with the doubles format to feel closer to Pokemon's VGC format. Our opponent leads with Baltoy and Smoochum, but our strat involves spread moves. Spencer's got Rock Slide to hit both targets, and Lucy gets flinched, but we've got Surf for the dual coverage. Surf actually doesn't hit your teammates in these games, so we're safe to keep Spencer in. We actually get hit by a Spark, but Lucy's able to tank it with her high defenses. I switch into Nolan to finish the battle, and that's basically it. We finish the rest of the battles to get our points, but that's our little sampler of the battle frontier. Altogether, it's a pretty fun challenge, but I can see why Game Freak wouldn't want to reprogram this into each game. It's a lot of content that not everyone's gonna dig deep into, and while some were a lot of fun, some of them didn't really hit for me. With the battle frontier explored, we've still got one final challenge ahead of us, and that's the secret boss fight against Steven. I've leveled up the team to level 78, and we get prepared to challenge him in Meteor Falls. Steven leads with Skarmory, and I start with Brandon. Skarmory loves to set up spikes on the first turn, but I've taught Brandon Flamethrower to deal with him. On the next turn, he hits us with a soft Steel Wing, and we're able to take out the Metal Bird before he can set up further. Next out is Armaldo, so I switch out into Greta to tank an Ancient Power. I try to set up a Will-O-Wisp, but unfortunately, due to its low accuracy, we miss our first attack. We need to tank another Ancient Power, but on the next turn, we can connect, having his attack. Using this opportunity, I pivot into Spencer in case he was going for an Ancient Power, and then into Lucy on a resisted Water Pulse. One Surf later, and that's Armaldo taken care of. Steven's next Pokemon is Claydol, who also threatens Ancient Power, so I switch back into Spencer. Claydol instead sets up a Reflect, so now we could be in trouble for his Earthquake. I switch into Nolan for the Resist, and then we take out a huge chunk of his HP with Leaf Blade. One Giga Drain later, and that's Claydol taken care of. Steven sends out his ace, his Metagross, but we've got Dig to help us out. Reflect wears off, and our Dig connects, but barely for any damage. Metagross then connects his Meteor Mash, which does way more than I was expecting. The HP bar keeps going down until Nolan finally collapses. I severely underestimated Metagross's damage output, and unfortunately, that cost us Nolan's life. Rest well, buddy, you deserve it. I send out Brandon next, but Metagross outspeeds and hits another hard Meteor Mash, even getting the +1 attack boost. We fire back with the Flamethrower, which takes out a decent chunk, but it's looking a little scary now. I'm forced to stay in and tank another attack, and Brandon survives on 4 HP. We fire back with the Flamethrower, finally taking out his ace. Brandon's basically dead now, since we would die to the spikes if we switch back in. Still though, to save his life, I switch into Lucy on Aggron's soft Dragon Claw and fire back with the Surf, which targets his weaker special defense for the one-shot. Last up is Steven's final Pokemon, his Cradily, but we stay in and fire off an Ice Beam. It does about half, and Cradily retaliates with an Ancient Power, which immediately gets the Omni boost. Now, Ice Beam won't kill, so looking back, I should have went for a Toxic to play around the boost. I switch into Spencer to resist the Ancient Power, but on the next turn, a Giga Drain takes us out. This gives us a clean switch into Tucker, our last team member at full HP. There's always a chance for Cradily to be stupid and use Confuse Ray, so I decide to set up a substitute. Yeah, this will take a quarter of our HP, but Cradily actually falls for it and goes for Confuse Ray. We can safely fire off Psychic, but Cradily sets up Ingrain and starts healing each turn. Another Psychic isn't enough for the kill, but now Steven heals, and at this point, if we don't get some defense drops, it's gonna be pretty scary. I tried to set up a little with Calm Mind to put us on an even playing field, but Cradily breaks our sub with Ancient Power, which, reminder, is physical in these games, and after a few more turns going back and forth, he even gets a second Ancient Power boost. At this point, I think it's pretty clear what's happening. Cradily takes out Tucker, Greta, Lucy, and Brendan, ending our run at the final fight. All of this because he got the Ancient Power boost on the first attack. It was really ridiculous RNG, but am I gonna try again for this loss? We made it all the way here just to lose at the secret boss fight. I'm not counting this, but just to prove to myself that I could beat the fight with this team, I decided to reset and try this battle again, although I fully acknowledge that we lost this one. This time, as Steven sends out Skarmory, we lead with Lucy instead. Our Surf is a 2-shot, which lets Skarmory get off a layer of spikes, but we're still sitting at full health as Claydol comes out. I figured we were safe to stay in and use Surf, especially that Claydol only set up Reflect last time. Surf nearly takes them out, and as if on cue, Claydol sets up the Reflect. Steven heals on the next turn, but an Ice Beam and another Surf takes them out. Our Maldo is up next, so I switch into Greta. We're immune to a Slash, but on the next turn, we tank an Ancient Power and set up a Will-O-Wisp to have his physical attack. Even though his attack is cut, our Maldo lands a critical hit on his next Ancient Power, which even gets an Omni boost. I'm getting flashbacks of the last battle, but at least our Maldo is more manageable compared to Cradily. No Ingrain means we can slowly whittle away at his HP, and with our held leftovers, we can slowly bring him down to the red. Steven heals with a full restore, but we can tank his Water Pulse and set up another burn. Rinse and repeat, and our Maldo finally goes down as we're barely hanging on with 12 HP. Metagross comes out next to avenge his fallen brother, but we can switch into Brandon on a Shadow Ball. Meteor Mash does a lot of damage, but we start firing back with Flamethrowers, which even gets a 10% burn. The AI sees that their physical damage is worse now, so it switches to a weaker Psychic, which we can easily tank. One Flamethrower later, and the supercomputer is finally taken care of. Steven sends out Aggron next, so I switch into Lucy to dodge the Earthquake. And just like last time, a single Surf is enough to take him out. Finally, Steven sends out our last run ender, his Cradily. But unlike last time, we've got experience and knowledge on our side, so we immediately get off a Toxic to secure the victory. Now, it's just a matter of stalling Cradily out until the Toxic Poison can run its course. We can help out too by going for an Ice Beam, but unfortunately, Ancient Power rolls better on the second attack, which ends up taking out Lucy. But looking at the rest of our team, we can easily finish off Cradily, proving once and for all that this battle is 100% possible, as long as Steven doesn't get to stack Ancient Power boosts. And just like that, our time as Emerald comes to a close. If you'd like to see the other two Hoenn Dex holders, make sure you click here to see how we beat Oras using Sapphire's team. I appreciate you being here, and thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. Also, huge shout out to everyone who became a member during my live streams. I'm genuinely blown away by your generosity. Shout out Enzo Guerrero, Rafs, Stitchy, and Stylish, man, love your artwork. And of course, BP Nuzlocke and Pixelate for not only being awesome members of our extended community, but also being great friends. Please do yourself a favor and check them out. I've included all their links in the description of this video. Until next time, this has been Magnus. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.